Hello and welcome to Networking for Introverts. I'm Sabrina Schottenhamel. It's November 16th, 2023. We do this monthly, and I am excited today to have our special guest speaker, Elijah Drown, on. And welcome, Elijah. We have a small crew today, but that's okay because we are recording, so we can share this out and you can refer back to it whenever you are in need of some public speaking skills or you're wanting to get on a podcast. So let me introduce Elijah and then we'll hop right in. Elijah is a quirky creative that has made his life a mission to turn dreams into a podcast. After many years of public speaking practice at his corporate job, this podcast mentor appreciates how comfortable sitting behind the microphone truly is. He enjoys long walks around his local conservation area, adding Irish cream to his coffee on Sunday mornings. Sounds pretty good. And failing to be still outside his RV camper parked by the lake every Canadian summer. Welcome, Elijah.
It's Sabrina. Thanks for the intro. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that should talk about public speaking and maybe get some confidence around speaking for introverts and
I would
others
love
who
that.
feel introverted?
That'd be great.
Thanks. I don't know that everybody understands how extroverted I am, so I'm not really a great use case. I'm not the perfect customer, if you will, for the networking for introverts, but I can relate on refilling your cup from ADHD. I tend to like body doubling, which is just having somebody in my space that I can yammer at. For whatever reason, it makes me feel better that somebody else is there. And I always think so busily all day about everything, and I'm always going, going, going. My wife always wonders how come I fall asleep at 30 seconds flat, instant snore, because I'm just going from start to finish. So I can really appreciate how overwhelming things are, how much energy it takes to do all this stuff, including public speaking, which is kind of a daunting task for those traditional introverts, right? I mean, it's not only TED Talks that you have to worry about. It's the managers have to lead their teams. You have to interview for the resumes you put out there, and God forbid you're laid off and you got to start again. That's kind of daunting, right? The TED Talks and TEDx are the big staples, the spotlight. But there's presentation and sales pitches, and even small groups like this that Sabrina's leading. You got to have that turned on sort of feeling, that magnification of happiness exerted all this energy to get out there. But extroverts, I think, are terrible listeners. They're exhausting. They always disrupt, and I always talk over everybody. I'm like, just hear me, please. I need to be heard because I don't know anything else. And these introverts roll their eyes all the time, and I never picked up until recently. That's at me. So yeah, it's exhausting, right? To spend your day and energy going through all this uncomfortable stuff, these thoughts, these inhibitions. And when I was in corporate 15 years ago, I sucked at public speaking. It was always in my head that everybody's going to look at me and say that I'm awful. But really, it was a decade of practice that helped me realize that people have these inner fears too. They're always scared that people are going to laugh at them or point and say, "You suck. This is awful." But yet, on the flip side, people just want to hear what you're doing in the important culture, whether it's a small group like this that's trusted or a corporation that has a really good culture of in fostering their employees to do better. It's kind of nice to know that people just appreciate you for being human. And even though I say 140 ums this particular session, you don't care because you just want to learn something, get together, and know each other. So that's a lot, right? Introverts, I find my wife, that's the example that I use because she needs downtime for me. She says, "Get out. Yeah, I don't need to talk to you. You need to give me some quiet, and I just want to binge on my CSI." That's all she needs. So I can appreciate that you need a bit of time. That's a bit daunting. It takes a lot of energy to get in the spotlight. That's what I'm trying to convey, that I get it, even though I'm obnoxious extrovert, right? I think that the skills might come from practicing in a mirror. Be decent. Don't scare yourself. You might break the mirror like I do with the radio face, but you want to get in there and just practice with being okay with all the imperfections. Maybe your left eye's a bit droopy or goes off to the side. If you get distracted, your left nose is kind of out of joint, or you have too much gray hair. Whatever it may be that you're not comfortable with, you just have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. record yourself. Look at that smartphone thing you have and do lots of selfies like you care, or put some tape over the screen so you can't see yourself. Just get comfortable with the fact that you're imperfect. Get outside of those eh, that comfort zone and saying it's okay that I'm going to be unique and imperfect, and I'm going to make some ums and ahs and breaths, and I'm going to do all this with my hands, and it's going to be weird for the first little bit, but you got to start somewhere. And if you can accept those imperfections, then you can start to find an audience and get comfortable with speaking, and then you can find a safe space to chat with. Maybe there's a bunch of different nonprofit groups that you can speak with, right? The different speaking organizations, different networking groups, or practice areas and safe spaces that you can get out there and just test the water, have those baby steps. And once I got those baby steps and started talking to bigger audiences at work and even these sort of events, I just accepted the fact that nobody judged me. I got 3 kids. I'm 42. I've done all my embarrassing moments, I hope. I just have to wait for that opportunity to have some fun and not take myself so seriously. I think that was a really important lesson for me to learn. And people that seem to be emotionally intelligent to also pair themselves with this introvertedness, right? They come with both. They're very sensitive to what's around them. They appreciate people. They're more hyper aware of things that are going on instead of these obnoxious extroverts who just, I don't know if they have a trauma that they're living through. They need to be heard. Maybe they're only children that always told they're right. Who knows, right? Just go through that idea. But I think the biggest aha moment that I had is hiding behind a microphone. I can do one of these, right? In audio, and I'm just talking to a microphone, pretending that anybody even exists. I could be the only one left on this planet after zombies attack us. It's okay because nobody's really there. I can just out of sight, out of mind mentality, right? And that's why I love the podcasting, because you can hide behind that microphone. You can talk at your device. You can turn off the screen. You can ease into the fact that you're going to be okay with being imperfect. Because once you get outside of your head, anything's possible. And that's the great thing about it. And then you can coach those extroverts who are obnoxious to listen better when you're maybe being a guest on their podcast. Say, I'm an introvert. Inside your head, you go through all these motions, and you can ease into the fact that you're an authoritative figure. You have a lot to offer, and you're a resource worth divulging all this information, because otherwise people are kind of missing out on all this stuff that you offer and share. And that's why I can kind of hide behind the microphone like nobody exists. It's like an imaginary friend that you're talking to as a kid, right? You're talking to Susie or Johnny or this weird alien in the closet because that's your vibe. And it's kind of nice. You're just talking to you. Yeah, there's the unwritten rule that there's millions of people on the internet that could be listening, but it's just you and the microphone and your thoughts. Stare at your script, try to read it, and then get better at speaking, engaging with people and bring them in. And then eventually people are going to go, wow, I didn't know you do that. That's so cool. And then the confidence builds. It doesn't have to be a podcast on Spotify or Apple. You do private stuff, maybe for your newsletter, maybe for your emails, maybe for your courses. Do a little bit. Get into it. Just have some fun, or share it on LinkedIn with Sabrina. Say, Sabrina, is this cool? And did I do okay? Could I do better? And you get that feedback and keep moving on. Maybe podcast is for you. Maybe just recording at yourself, talking. Maybe you're old enough to have those old microphones that tune into a FM radio station and you just sing all over the living room and kitchen, because I'm old. I remember that. And maybe you don't, Sabrina, but I was there too. Just having fun and enjoy it. Do you know there's celebrities that are introverts, like Meryl Streep and Beyonce? Like, these people have to get up on stage, wear these ridiculous costumes in front of Super Bowl Sunday, and they're going, "Hey, world, I'm introverted, but screw it. I'm going to share a talent with everybody to get over that fear." It's kind of weird that fear exists. I don't know, Sabrina. Do you have fears about public speaking? Have you mastered the networking for introverts courses and ideas? Have you gotten past the fact that nothing's perfect?
Oh, yes. Because I, growing up, I was very, very shy. And I could dance my heart out in front of people, like you just said, with Beyonce, putting on a ridiculous costume and dancing because she's talented. I was very talented as a dancer. I love to perform in front of people, but if you asked me in school to answer a question or to raise my hand and speak, no way. I would turn red. I'd start sweating. My mouth would dry out and I would stutter because I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to sound stupid, and you covered a lot of this stuff already. So it's interesting that like introverts are so creative and we have all these talents to share, but we just sometimes hide behind, like you say, maybe a microphone, or we just want to do audio or text. And the thing that helped me overcome my fears of public speaking was joining Toastmasters.
Oh, yeah.
That was
I love that.
huge for me. I was a member. I just stopped my membership maybe a month ago, but I've been a member like around 10 years now, just over 10 years. And the first couple of years, it forced me to put speeches together, to get up in
Mm.
front of my peers and talk, receive the immediate feedback, receive the encouragement, even though half the time when we get up to speak, we think, oh my God, I did terrible. You sit down and you're like, oh gosh. And
But
then
you
your
did it.
evaluator gets up to speak and shares like how much information they received from
Mm.
that. You're like, what? And so
Yeah.
that encouragement helps you to gain the confidence and just to keep moving forward, whether it is in-person speeches, over Zoom, on video, just posting daily, whatever it is. But those baby steps, like you mentioned.
Is there a Toastmaster for dancers, Sabrina? Do you know? Since you're an expert dancer, you and Jennifer? I need to get up past that 2 left feet skill that I
Yeah,
have, that I'm
that
almost
would
7 feet tall, I have 2 left feet. I'm terribly awkward to begin with, but I can speak to people. This is no problem, but when I get on the dance floor, I just freeze. I can't put my hand up to dance because I don't have that confidence in me. So what do you think's difference? What do you think's difference between speaking and dancing? Is it just a comfort zone?
it is. It is because like if you fear, like I feared speaking up, and you
Hmm,
fear, not maybe fear, but you're awkward, so
I
you're
do
like,
fear
I
it.
just
Yes.
would rather not even dance because I
Mm,
look silly and I feel silly and people are going to laugh. But really, you hear that saying, dance like no one's watching, because if you really look around the dance floor, everyone is in their own little zone, dancing, doing old school stuff
uh,
or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
the same thing with public speaking. As long as you're speaking to the audience and for the audience and giving them value, that's all that matters when you speak. The same thing when you're dancing, except it's more for you. Unless you're a performer, then it's a little different.
Did you have issues writing at all in a public space, like writing blogs and articles and things like that? Or was it just
Uh,
centered around speaking, put your hand up?
when I was in school, I struggled writing
Hmm.
because I didn't think I was good enough. But now I like to write articles for e-magazines and if someone's going to interview me, I like to write little blurbs about myself and my business and how I've developed myself. And even my husband compliments me on my writing skills. Uh-oh, we lost you. I can't hear you now. I don't know what happened. Whatever you did before, push that button. Plug in the microphone.
Um,
Oh,
disappear?
there you are. You're back.
Good. Sorry. I don't know if it's the internet connection here.
Could
Um,
be.
I just figured that it's a bit strange that our spouses are taking the time to be nice to us because there's no requirement, right?
No.
I was really curious what changed from childhood to have that fear of writing to now, where you're a pro for e-magazine writer. Something
I think
happened or
I
what?
think it's just because I choose to write and I
Hmm.
choose to speak that it's different. Like I was forced to write on a certain
Oh,
topic in school, so I think I didn't like that. I'm creative just like you and just like Jennifer, and when we're put in a box, it's like I don't fit in that box. I'm like
hmm.
sticking out. So if if I'm put in a box, I don't like to go with the flow of that. I want to do my own thing.
Independent people that don't want to be told what to do. That's the struggle, right? You can't
Yeah.
tell me what to do. I don't want to do this. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. Maybe that's the psyche behind it. If you can find a way to enjoy it, maybe it
Hmm.
becomes easier and then you're not afraid of it. You don't fear it.
Hmm. And I believe that that changed for me when I went to massage school from like being forced to go to
Mm.
elementary school and middle school and high school, and then choosing to go to massage school. It was completely different for me. I felt like I fit in. Things started to click for me. It was completely different.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I have to figure out how to like something, and then you get past that fear and just be okay with it. I wonder if it's just practice that gets people into it and that positive feedback, that empowerment. Just keep doing it. Eventually, someone's going to like it.
Yeah.
Besides our grandparents, they always like
Right.
everything we do.
Yes.
Goodness. If your spouse says you're doing great, then that's a win in my books. That's good.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Did you win any awards recently for writing?
Not
Getting
for
there?
writing.
No. For dancing though, right?
For dancing, I did, yeah,
Hmm.
as a group, and I won a scholarship through our studio, and then through Toastmasters. Actually, that's my little award right here next to me. I like to
Oh
keep it
yeah.
by me because I
Cool.
joined in 2013, and that was when I was so deathly afraid to speak in front of people. And by 2015, I was best speaker of the year.
Really? It's a
Yeah.
quick turnaround.
Hmm.
Well done. Not bad. You gonna
Yeah.
go for award two? Or maybe you'll run a Toastmasters in your area. Look, I got an award, so I know what I'm doing. You should
Yeah,
believe me.
right. No, I'd like to have this group grow so that
Mm.
I can have people speak up and I don't know, do their practice, and then I could award
Yeah.
them with the Networking for Introverts award.
Oh yeah. Get fancy certificates, they can put in their digital scrapbook, and then everybody's happy. That'd be
Right.
nice. Yeah. You can kind of empower them, get to the next stage in their life and say, "This is something I can contribute to their success." That's cool.
Hmm.
So not
Yeah.
only are you succeeding, but you're also helping others feel good about what they're doing, which is awesome.
Hmm. I love it.
I didn't always love this speaking because I was always in my head, but then something changed where I was just got over it. I was like, "Whatever, everybody makes mistakes, who cares?" But I think it's that first time where somebody's positive about it, get
Mhm.
you outside of your head and go, "You know what? It's gonna be okay. You're gonna suck a few times and just accept that we're not perfect and we gotta grow." And eventually you win awards like Sabrina and everybody's happy, I
Yeah.
think. Piece of
Yeah.
cake. We made it sound pretty easy.
It
That's
does sound pretty easy, but it takes a lot of work, a
yeah,
lot of alone time working on your speeches, practicing them. And you even mentioned it earlier, standing in the mirror, practicing, recording
yeah,
yourself on video. Yeah, I mean it takes a lot of work. It's
it
not just an overnight thing that, oh, I'm so great.
I don't want to scare you, but I'll repeat that it took me about 10 years to kind of get comfortable with public speaking, especially in front of people in suits that seem judgy, that don't have any obligation to like you or enjoy what you do. It's a
Hmm.
bit frightening, but you get out there and just try to do your best. I think eventually it'll stick, and try to forget about the times where you didn't love what you were doing, and use that as a learning curve, and hopefully it works out.
Hmm.
Do you think that it's okay to ease into public speaking as a pair or have somebody as a sidekick to bounce off of? Would that be a good way to do things to get out there?
Hmm. I think that's a great way if you pair with someone because maybe they're a little more experienced, they're more comfortable, so they
Hmm.
can kick it off, and then you can play off of their energy and their their experience, and they
Like
can
when,
encourage you too. So like if
yeah,
you are still shy at speaking and your co-host or whatever is comfortable, if you if they find out that you're a little lost, they can encourage you and help you along the way.
yeah, I like when run out of things to talk about after 15 minutes, I can pretend to interview Sabrina and she doesn't even notice. We're just having a conversation. We're still
I know.
teaching people stuff and just still waiting for Jennifer, participant, to come up with the sound effects, the woohoos and the claps. But next
I know
time,
I was going to
next
ask
time.
Jennifer if she's able to share her experience or anything that stuck out so far with our conversation.
Like Toastmasters. Any awards for public speaking or writing? Any creative endeavors? Should I just go through the list until you unmute yourself? What do you think? No pressure. Yeah. She
Jennifer.
she could be following her dog onto the grass so it doesn't pee on the couch again. Goodness, that was a bad day.
No, that was in the middle of the hallway, wasn't it?
Yeah, she took a picture of it. Like, I don't thank you for trusting me, but I don't need that in my life right now. But thank you. That's
Oh
nice.
my goodness. I can't believe you both just exposed Mr. Snuggles.
Mr.
Oh,
Snuggles is
Mr.
adorable.
Snuggles.
Like us, he's not perfect. It's okay.
I
We don't
didn't say his name.
Yeah, she just nodded and smiled. I don't know him. I don't know what he's talking about. I refuse.
Listen, he's still learning, right? And I'm still learning. And I
Sure.
think that's the point here,
Mm,
of what you guys are talking about with speaking. And it just got me to thinking about like, ooh, have there been some speakers or even podcast guests or hosts that have not been formally trained, right? Because I've never been
yeah.
formally trained for speaking, but it just flows. And the way that it just flows is because I gave myself permission to understand that it's not about me, right? The message
Mm,
that I'm sharing is not about me. So that relieved any pressure. And yes, did I make some mistakes along the way? And then I learned from them? Sure. But it allowed me to just be able to free flow. Whereas when I used to think that I had to have it all prepared and scripted out, that's when I wouldn't do well. I'd freeze up,
mm,
kind of how what you were mentioning, Sabrina, where it just put too
yeah.
much pressure on me. And I think that happened at a young age too, where I was like called on the spot and I froze with, the question was so easy, so simple that I should have known it, right? But because that spotlight was put on me in that moment, like, all sense went out the window. But I think some of us do really well when we prepare, and some of us do well when we free flow, and then maybe there's a combination of both. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that about being professionally trained versus just kind of learning as you go?
For podcasting, because of the tech barriers of been broken down in a big way. Anybody can get on with an opinion, a voice, a recording device, and all these hosting apps that are home for podcasts. They make it so easy to press the record button, and that's sometimes the good and bad. The blessing is that people just get out and go on a tangent and talk about some inappropriate fart jokes, or people will come out and talk about something serious like introverted stuff or SEO or how to be a better entrepreneur or salesperson or whatever it may be, have actual good stuff. Or there's celebrities who just talk about gossip about other celebrities. So it's really a mixed bag. But for me, I feel like it's a little tougher to sift through that excellent stuff, that top tier quality, that stuff that you'll actually listen to and get something out of instead of people just chatting about silly stuff. Some people are there for that, but I think there's a ton of people that aren't trained and they just want to go out and hear themselves. And good for them for getting out there because they have the courage to say, hey, not everybody's for me. I'm not for them. I'm just going to talk about what I want to do and have some fun. And if they don't have any friends, they start a podcast. It's great. But all seriousness aside, it's a mixed bag, Jennifer. There's a lot of people. 200,000 podcasts get started a week, and are they all trained? Oh no, oh no. They just felt like this would be fun one day, and then realize it's a lot of work. 20 episodes later, and they're like, yeah, maybe another hobby. I'll talk to another friend. But it's kind of interesting, isn't it? That so many people out there just love the sound of their voice. I hated my sound of my voice for many years, but not trained. I went to school for radio, but I haven't been trained since. I did all the basics, but I've never really got in front of vocal training or had a vocal coach or public speaking coach. None of that. Just experienced having conversation, being an only child, talking to old people that are retired on their porch because they bribe me with the creamsicles. They're delicious, and the drumsticks. And then my neighbor would just go through a pot of coffee and a pack of cigarettes. And when he was done, I'd go home. I wouldn't share them with them, obviously, but that's what we did. So you find that these people are experienced with conversation, the gift of gab, and they can just chat, and then you just hone in on that skill and get inspired like Jennifer does in front of the microphone. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I didn't have formal training at all, and I was a radio show host as well for a few years.
Ah,
And I just
cool.
kept learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would listen to each episode and make adjustments from there. But there's one thing, Elijah, that you did say that can, take this beyond just a hobby, right? Because some people, yeah, they just want to explore, check it out, maybe get over a fear of speaking. but they don't do it long term. What are some of the suggestions to help people go into this long term, right? They're going to put forth the effort. They want to do this well. What does that look like to have sustainability in podcasting?
Either be ready to appreciate that it's like a business. It takes a lot of time. You could be looking at roughly 10, 12 hours a week to work on everything related to, to guest scheduling, to planning, to research for your episodes, to recording the episodes, do the socials, the marketing, the editing, all that fun stuff. If you don't have time, maybe you throw money at it. There's tons of people that do this sort of thing, that help out, that are coaches, that are editors, whatever. Or you can get AI tools like Descript and just make it do it for you. And that would shave off a ton of time. So be okay with it taking a lot of time, and it's going to be time consuming when you figure it out and grow. And if you're okay with that time, then you won't get burnt out and disappointed. Just set that expectation, plan, be ready.
Well, investing 10 to 12 hours a week on something like that and all the responsibility that you said we would have to do does not sound like fun to me.
No?
At all. No. So is there a way where we could just sit in front of the microphone and chat and then have it be done for us? Like you said, throw some money at it. I mean, what are we talking about? Like, how can maybe you or other professionals help in this arena?
Descript is an AI tool. It's $30 a month, and it'll give you all the tools from the recording package. If you're doing the DIY thing, a lot of people do, right? And that it has from the recording to the editing to the clips to it'll even do AI to write blogs and all that fun stuff for you. It's not perfect. You can correct it and polish it up, but it's a great framework. Or you can get someone like myself to kind of guide you for every step of the process. Just hiring somebody could be from, $1,200 to $2,500 a month, depending on their level of expertise, what they're charging, how long they've done it. Or you can get somebody to edit podcast episodes, which is probably a couple $100 a month, which isn't as bad as you'd think, especially if you have capability of being able to hire somebody, and then you can continue to grow your business and do your thing, and just be that speaking head, if you want, the talking head that's the magical piece, and somebody else does the grunt work that you want to poke your eyes out over and can't stand. So that's kind of, and everything in between. So if you need help kind of growing and understanding better interview techniques, or you go, I have an idea, what do I do next? And everything in between is kind of something someone like me would help with.
Yeah, I like my eyes and prefer not to poke them out. So I would love to have
It's silly, but you get the idea. Yeah.
I would love to have someone just do the podcast for me, obviously not speak for me, and I'd want to create my own content in that. And of course, AI features can be helpful, right? But all the tech stuff. So you're saying, Elijah, that somebody like yourself can set that up. Is that right?
It's once you do it enough, and somebody like me just kind of does it, it's second nature. So it doesn't seem like it's too complicated, but yes. So planning, getting you set up, getting you all the tools you need, helping you find the right guests, how to, I guess, have that effective speaking voice, or that tone, or that authority, or that message that you need to get out, and then be able to create that story behind the scenes, to edit all the pieces that may not be so perfect, right? That don't really contribute to the conversation. That'd be helpful too, right? And then kind of sit behind the scenes and be a sidekick, kind of like a teacher or a coach or a mentor. Be like, just tap you on the shoulder once in a while, like, are you okay? Are you good? Do you need help? Would you try this, to kind of take yourself to the next level, and then make sure you sound good, so it doesn't sound like there's, a train in the background, or honking, or somebody, I don't know, they're washing their hands, and you got to get that noise out. Sometimes that helps to kind of polish things up, make you sound like an expert, because if you sound like a hot mess, people aren't going to respect you people are, by human nature, just going to judge you, right? And that first impression is sometimes everything, especially if you're trying to sell something like coaching programs, or write a book, or you have a call to action of some sort. And maybe it's a community network for introverts is $100 a month, whatever, just an example, right? There's all that stuff you can help with, and figure out how to grow and be successful without you, as you said, Jennifer, wanting to poke your eyes out. I'm sorry, that's a silly analogy, but that creates a visual of, I hate this, I can't stand it, I'm frustrated. Get rid of all that with someone like myself.
Yeah, that's good.
I
And
do
then
okay?
lastly,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really great. So lastly, then how do you get to the reach with your podcast, right? Because I see sometimes people, they'll post their interview that they were a guest on, but they don't get necessarily the reach. Like, what's a reasonable expectation for your podcast to get reach without posting on social?
If you're here for the numbers, you're going to be disappointed, especially if you don't have huge audience. You see networking, or sorry, social media, about 3% engagement, they say, is a good day. So if you're getting out to 1,000 people and 3% see that and engage on it, are those 3% going to listen to your podcast to click away from socials and listen? Creating that emotional hook, getting people interested, and doing a really good job of captivating the audience and driving that cliffhanger moment to see more. Hey, well, this is really fascinating, really cool. So that takes a lot of planning and a lot of behind the scenes work to get up to that episode with the clips and the bits and the action points. 50 episodes, 30 episodes. 30 to 50 listeners per episode to start if you don't have a big following and you're doing it organically. Otherwise, you're probably going to be looking at an organic social media hustle, just like your business. The more you get in front of Instagram, the more you get in front of TikTok and find that kind of social mix that fits with you, especially for those Instagram followers that I was following somebody that does SEO, and he says with the group he follows, it takes 20% engagement for him to get on top of the successful social media marketers. And that blew me away. So the more people that start a podcast, the more people that are creating content, the more people that are out there, and the more people you're fighting for attention with. So if you don't have that audience in that area to really focus in on, you could be kind of just spinning yourself in circles. And that's where that help to get paid advertising in social apps or pod news app, like a 30,000 follower newsletter or something like that, to get into your niche, or really specific Facebook ads might help bump up that awareness so you can create that following and get that traction going. Because you're right. Otherwise, if you're just posting at the wall, does anybody care? That's the worry, right?
So, what about actually the podcasting hosting sites that will promote or bump your podcast? Because I had a client who was able to do that. That's how she really expanded her reach. It wasn't a ton through social media, and she had a significant amount of downloads and, people tuning in to the podcast.
That there is a distribution network that podcast hosts will have, like get out to Google or to Spotify or to Apple or to Amazon Music or iHeartRadio, whatever it may be. But a lot of that will be based on a paid subscription or paid advertising. You can get into some sort of podcast apps that will actually promote your podcast within the app itself, or like you said, on the hosting platform, they'll get out there. Be a guest on a podcast or 100. And similar to networking, like we're doing today, just get out there, talk to podcasters, do podcast swaps, if you will. Be a guest, be an expert, and then share amongst each other. And if you can get a guest with some sort of following themselves, then and they can be encouraged to share the content you kind of package out for them and say, here, I'm making it easy to share. Can you reach out to your network and share the awesome content that you provided today? And that will help grow your audience too, to build. So don't just do it yourself. Don't rely on yourself. There's many ways around you between the organic socials, the hosting providers that will help promote you with a few bucks thrown their way, the ads and the back and forth swapping that you can do to get yourself out there and get that outreach. Unfortunately, it's a bit of grind until people catch on. And that's why they say it's a year or two, that long game that you're getting into. If you don't have that massive audience of six figures, you're probably going to be looking at a good year or so before people catch on, and steady commitment to get out there and find your audience, your people. Fortunately, a reality, Jennifer, that it's not going to happen tomorrow. So if you're looking for that to get Mr. Snuggles on a podcast and be successful tomorrow, to be Joe Rogan, it might not happen, but it will soon.
Yeah, Mr. Snuggles is kind of more extroverted and he wants that fast track, but I know
Yeah,
better and we don't want him hustling, right?
no.
So we want him to go at a pace with grace, just like I encourage my peeps to do too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really important to set those realistic expectations. And most people that I know that begin a podcast, they say they're committed to at least a year, right? They
Mm.
don't want to get discouraged. They're not looking and chasing the metrics. Those are feedback, but they're not driven by that. So this was really good, both of you, Sabrina
Yeah,
and Elijah. Thank you for, doing this and sharing this today.
absolutely. There's someone that I'm helping. She gets 30, 50 downloads per episode on a good day, and people are coming to her as the expert. They're going, I didn't know that you did branding or brand strategy. I didn't know you did this. And then they started buying into her 12-week program. So it doesn't mean that you have to have a bazillion people either, Jennifer. You just get those core audience people like we're doing at the networking for introverts, and you can still have those clients come to you out of sometimes seemingly thin air. So you don't always have to worry about those numbers. Just have to engage and create content that's meaningful to someone, and then it's just a matter of what happens from there. So don't have to be perfect, but you just have to try, right? And you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a tip for people too, if they want to just kind of just dip their toe in just a little bit with speaking, right? What I've done is I've had Zooms kind of like this, or I've taken audio and put them in an app to create kind of like a wave file, a sound file, right? And then people think like, oh, you have a podcast. I can't wait to tune in and listen. And it's just a short little clip. It's like less than 30 seconds, right?
Such a
Um,
tease. Yeah.
but but they like it and they want more, or they DM you or they reach out, right? So that could be a way just to kind of, get yourself to gain some momentum, get ramped
Yeah.
up about it, and then you connect with someone like Elijah to help you move forward, fully into it.
And especially on socials, those 1 minute selfies that you do on video, just talking at yourself, going, hey, I want to share something cool with you. And they're going, really? Where's your podcast? And you go, this is it. There's nothing else currently. I'm sorry to disappoint you. But they want more. They're obviously, there's a good thing that's happening with you, Jennifer. Since you're a radio host in the past, you know what resonates. And then you just tease people all day long. It's fun. That's good.
Yeah, well, let's be careful calling me a tease here. But
Oh, shoot. Did I say that? There's no way I would say something like that. Goodness.
I know. I love the banter back and forth. So
Mm.
before Periscope and Facebook Live, I actually also did a show, Sales from the Heart show, on a Spanish station that was live streamed. I was the only one that didn't speak in Spanish because I sound like a 5-year-old when I try to speak Spanish. But the show
Exactly.
was in English. One of the things that I found, though, Elijah, is because it was an hour-long show. I mean, I didn't even want to hear my voice for an hour. I felt like that was kind of
Oh,
long. Um, but we filled up the time. I had a co-host on occasion as well. And actually, more often than not, I did solo, which actually flowed really naturally. So I'm glad that we're talking about this because I forgot about that. And I thought, ooh, it would be so
mm,
hard to do a show without a co host, but that's just not true. But one of the things that I found is that people would take the content that I would share with them, but they would say, ooh, I need to digest this first before I could work with you. Or I want
mm.
to implement these things that you were sharing. It's so good before I can work with you. So, any tips on that? Like, was I just giving too much? Was it maybe just not the right audience at that time? Like, what do you find when people just want to consume content? Like, how do you get them to move forward and take action? Because there's so much more goodness that we have to share with someone, right? And to help propel them move forward. So, any suggestions on that?
It's part of the internet age. People will consume there are people that just consume information for free. They just want to gain that knowledge that they need, and they may not be ready to buy from them. Maybe it's a budget thing, maybe they're in their head, maybe they're just not in a good space to go forward, right? Who knows? And that's where some of the behind the scenes content will come in, the Patreon or the subscriptions on Apple or Spotify or whatever for that, or even on YouTube. You'll see those super bucks or whatever they're called, or buy me a coffee. Sometimes that's nice where people can donate a few bucks here and there. It's more casual, $5 a month, 20 bucks, throw at you in a tip jar. Something like that would help monetize until they're ready. And if they're not quite able to take in or they need more, do what I call a callback. So take a little bit that you talked about, expand that on a future episode, and then kind of dive deep into it. Maybe get some feedback from the person. What would you like to learn more? What do you want to know about? What are you curious about? What would help you understand that I'm, a trusted professional that could help you? And then incorporate that into your next episode when you choose to do that callback. When you're doing blogs for your episodes, and you can do backlinks back and forth, and that's supposed to help with some sort of fancy Google algorithm. So then you got it made, but don't force it. There's always going to be people who are going to be sponges and kind of take. That's part of the internet culture.
Yeah,
And if
that's
you
so
can find
good.
a way to monetize that with your groups or the monthly premiums, and behind the scenes content about, you could talk about Snuggles, right? And how many treats he's had today. People love that stuff. The human nature things. Inside scoop. There's a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And poor Cha-Cha, she doesn't get any love here, but I do have two dogs too.
Oh,
So
shoot, you do. I always focus on the naughty one. I'm sorry. The one that's
yeah,
in the spotlight for attention, the extrovert. Pardon me.
yes, she is the extrovert. Or I'm sorry, he is the extrovert and
Mm.
Cha-Cha's like more behind the scenes. She does not like selfies or photos. But
Emotionally
I did
intelligent
post one
dogs.
on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Yeah, I posted one on LinkedIn yesterday, but she would refuse to look at the camera. All
How's
right,
your
I'll let you both
can I
take it from here.
Okay. I was going to ask how your husband's doing with the dog, but maybe another time if he's opened up and,
Oh,
and cuddling and getting more emotionally attached, hopefully accepting
yeah,
that you
yeah,
dropped the
yeah.
ball.
I mean,
Yeah.
Cha-Cha's only bit him a few times, but hasn't broken any skin. So their relationship is improving.
That's
Aw.
like any father with kid, right? At a young age, they're gonna punch him by accident or bite on something and be like, "Oh, this isn't food. I'm sorry." Just a dad thing to do. It just tell him he's fitting in. It's perfect. It's good. Yeah. Sabrina, I'm going off on tangents. Pardon me.
It's all good. No, this was great information. I took some notes and I did share some of the things that I wanted to as you were talking, about how you're an extrovert and how you were uncomfortable speaking and it took you 10 years to be comfortable speaking. And I'm an introvert and was completely shy as a child and didn't want to be heard, but when you make up your mind and you practice and you receive the feedback, it it just makes you want to move forward more. So it's amazing that you even said it. It's the practice, it's the encouragement, it's the feedback that we receive that keeps us going. So and I love the fact that you're a podcast host because introverts are afraid sometimes to be on video. Not on this call usually. We usually have a bigger group and we usually have everybody have their cameras on. They will speak up and there's no problem because I've created the safe space for the introverts to come and speak up. But if they are afraid to turn on their camera or be in person and speak, then yes, the podcasting is perfect for that because they can hide behind the microphone. Oh, you're gone again.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
there you
nice.
are. Okay, you're back.
Worst case, if they're scared of the video, just put some thicker construction paper, tape it to the top of your monitor so you can't see it, or close that window, shut it down, minimize it so you don't see it. If you need some inspiration for people who podcast, I linked in the Zoom chat. Stay Introverted podcast is a great example of two people who just chit chat and they're introverted and they get outside of their comfort zone. So if you need a little help to get outside of your comfort zone, take it from people who have suffered through their mistakes already. Why
Super.
not?
Thank you. Any final words before we close out?
I don't think so. I think you've covered everything, and I really hope that people just explore stuff that's outside their comfort zone, public speaking or trusted networks or something, just to give themselves that confidence and maybe a goal for next year. Try something new. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks
And
very much for this. It's been great.
yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I want people to be able to find you too. So what is your podcast and how can they find you on social media?
Let's start a podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find those things you like to listen to. Talk podcasts with me is Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Hang
Awesome.
out. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, I think that's all for today. I appreciate Jennifer you being here and Elijah. Thank you for being our guest. And I will definitely share this out to our social media sites. It will be on YouTube live. Well, not live, but it will be out there public. So again, thank you. And December, we will probably be taking a break because the third Thursday is December 21st, and that's the week of Christmas. So we might be taking a break, or stay tuned. I might have a bonus call earlier in the month. Again, thank you, and we'll see you next time.